Welcome to Cardboard Box Games. I'm Adam.
And I'm Adam. Today we're going to be talking about
new cards of Age of Ascension.
And honestly, Adam and I were going around, we were planning our video for this week, and we had some awesome ideas coming out, and then we get a bombshell dropped on us with a live stream by Fantasy Flight Games where they announce Age of Ascension. Let's jump right into it. Alright, so what we decided to do is we're actually going to read off and talk about as many of the new cards as possible. And we're going to talk about it in a couple different ways. We're going to talk about it like, do we think this card is good? And are we excited about it? Or do we think this card is bad and we're not excited about it? Or we don't really know, which is going to be the way that we hold our hands. So thumbs up, we're super excited about that card. Thumbs down, we're not excited about that card. And then if we go kind of in the middle, we're don't really know. We're actually more undecided than anything, right? Yeah. Because I came from a lot of card games. We both have, from like Magic the Gathering, and individual cards can impact the game a lot, and that is so true in Call of the Archons as well. Because there are games like Bait and Switch, which are just extremely powerful. So we're gonna talk about hopefully some cards that we think are extremely powerful, but we're gonna also talk about cards that are just gonna be good if you get the right mix of cards to go with them. Yeah. So let's jump right into it. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna read off the card, and then we're gonna talk about it for a second or two, and then we're going to actually do thumbs up, thumbs down, or sideways at the same time.
At the same time.
And then we'll see if we agree or not. Okay. All right, so the first card is a Brobnar action with one draw umber. So that means you play it, you get an umber no matter what, an amber. Amber. Yeah. When you play this card, stun an enemy creature. If that creature was already stunned, destroy it. This is called 1-2 punch.
1-2 punch.
So what's your, like, you don't have to say if you like it or not. Like, first off, for Brobnar to have a way to destroy a creature, it's pretty good, maybe.
Yeah, but not many Brobnar cards have like stun abilities, I believe.
I mean, maybe that's a sign for what's going to happen in this set. Maybe there'll be a lot more stun.
Maybe.
Although you have stunned me a lot with
Sanctum.
Sanctum for sure.
Cards, yeah.
So I wonder if you team this up with Sanctum, if that would be a way.
Yeah, that could make it better. Yeah.
So maybe this card has a place. All right, let's see where we are on this. All right, 1, 2, 3. Wow, we completely agree. I think this is just a utility card. Yeah. By the way, we were both neutral. We both had our thumb to the side. I gotta remember that to make sure I state that. But the reason I feel like it's gonna be powerful in certain places, and in other places it's gonna be like, at least I get an amber and I stun a creature.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's not overly powerful, or I don't know. You kind of agree with me, or
I agree. Because like with Sanctum, I believe it could be good depending on what cards they have. But with like Untamed or like Shadow, I don't know if it would be good, because Shadow doesn't have that much stunning abilities in Untamed either.
Yeah, it's
mainly just Sanctum, I believe.
And there is definitely some stun effects in Brobnar.
There is, yes.
But I'm trying to remember, because isn't there a card that lets you stun, or is that in Sanctum?
That's Sanctum, stun all the creatures of one type.
What about the one that stuns a creature and its neighbors? I think that one was Brobnar.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure that's Brobnar, but I can't remember off the top of my head now.
Okay.
Man, that's terrible. All right, the next card is Bingle Bang Bang, which is actually a hilarious name. It's a Brobnar 2-power creature. Before fighting, so 2 power is kind of weak on the but before this creature fights, it deals 5 damage to each neighbor of the creature Bingle Bang Bang fights. Wow. So I think the things we got to think about is like the before fight ability seems extremely strong.
It does, yeah.
So if you think about it, like if you can get an attack in and you attack someone in the middle, it can do 12 damage
Wait, how would that work if someone had a taunt guy and you attack it with your 2 guy? Does the neighbors get 5 damage?
They do, yeah.
They do take the 5 damage.
Yep,
Okay.
because it's just a straight up deal damage, not an attack. But here's where I thought this card would be really good, is against the elusive creatures of Shadow.
Yes.
Like, I feel like this card would be really good against elusive creatures. Because you just, or like the cards like Shadow itself, or anything that doesn't fight back.
Yeah.
And they're trying to protect their stuff. You just send this guy in and just start picking apart their neighbors.
That's
very
awesome.
situational.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a card that almost has to be answered, maybe. Because you think about it, like getting 12 damage to your board, that is a lot.
That is a lot, yeah.
Do you got anything you want to say about that before we do our voting?
I feel like that card's pretty powerful, in my opinion, against like weak creatures like Shadow and possibly Untamed, maybe. Like it depends what they have on the board, though.
It really does.
Yeah.
All right, let's do our vote. All right. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3. All right, so we're both thumbs up on that card. That means we're excited about it. I'm a big fan of cards that feel like they need to be answered. Because you put your opponent in a place where they have to do something about it, or you're going to start tearing them apart. Mm-hmm. In worst case scenario, this guy goes in, suicides himself off, and does 12 damage to your opponent's board.
That's pretty powerful, yeah.
It is very powerful. I might be wrong about this card. I might be like a little too overexcited. And also the name is super cool. So here's another guy. Brobnar 5-power creature called Cowfiend. So it's Cowfyne. It actually has a picture of a guy like holding what looks to be a cow over his head. So it's kind of a funny image. Yeah. And before fighting, deal 2 damage to each neighbor of the creature Cowfiend fights.
So it's kind of like the last guy, except it's reverse. Instead of 2-power creature, it's a 5-power creature, doing 2 damage to its neighbors.
Wow, that is actually incredible. I didn't actually pick that up, but you're exactly right. They switched the numbers around.
Yeah.
I wonder if those guys are somehow connected. I don't see any image or anything, but you're right. Huh. I sort of like the 5-power creature more.
I do too, because then it has a less chance of it dying, actually.
Yeah, and the 2 damage is going to be relevant because you just typically your opponent's gonna have some creatures that are somewhat weaker, but you can now like get a 2-for-1 on the attack, and that adds up pretty quick.
It does, yes.
I kind of like this card, and I do like the before fight effects across the board. Because I love to be able to think about combat in a way that, like, if I do these things, this is what happens. And I think that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
All right, let's do a thumbs up or thumbs down. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, we're both thumbs up on that one again, too. I think overall it's just a solid Brobnar card.
Yeah.
Here is one that is kind of interesting. And there are new giants. So the last card we talked about was a giant. Mm-hmm. This is a 6-power Brobnar creature. And I love 6-power creatures. I think it's the right amount for some of the Sanctum creatures. Because it punches through their armor and their power a lot of times. This one's called Drummerknot. And Drummerknot is a giant as well. And he has a play, fight, reap ability. Return a friendly giant creature to your hand. So this one's interesting to me.
Yeah, it could be really good if you have more giants and with them actually having play abilities, but if he's just by himself, I believe he returns himself to his hand.
I think the same thing, and maybe this is because we come from Magic, but I actually, last night I was watching more of the live stream, and they had a sample game with this guy.
Really?
And Drummerknot, they played him by himself on the board and didn't return him.
They didn't return him.
So I feel like Magic has tainted me there. So maybe the playability happens before he enters play. And I might just be overthinking that. Huh. But that changes the way I think about that card a little bit. If you can play him without having to return himself. Because he is a giant.
Yes.
But the fight and reap, that means you can return himself, which is interesting.
to fight in Reap, he can return himself, you think?
Because it says return a friendly giant creature to your hand. He is a giant and he's friendly. So you would be able to... You would... My thinking is, if you play him by himself, and I would love to get some clarification on this, because in my mind, he should just go back to your hand. But they didn't do it that way in that game. So let's say you play it,
okay,
and the playability triggers before they come into play. And I know KeyForge doesn't have like a stack or anything like that, but there is an order to the way things happen. Like fighting happens after, combat. Mm-hmm. But if you play this guy and he is alone on the battlefield, I'm assuming he's okay to stay on board because that's how the people that were introducing the cards played him. Huh. So that we need to do some digging into like what the play, like the order of that play, because this changes that. Yeah. But if you have only one giant in play, and you reap or fight, you have to return him to your hand if he's the only giant in play. So I think that's a good clarification because you have to do as much as possible, and he is a friendly giant creature. And I do want to do some more digging on that play because when I first saw that card, I was like, well, you need other giants. All right, let's do our vote. 1, 2, 3. So Adam over here is neutral, and actually I'm probably more neutral as well too.
Yeah.
I'm actually negative on that card. I think the 6-power creature is fantastic.
It is awesome, yeah.
But I think you just need a perfect deck, and this is probably why you were neutral.
Yeah. It really depends what your cards are in your deck. Because if you have like only one giant creature, for example, that card would be horrible. But if you have more giant creatures, that card would actually be good or decent enough to actually play.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting though. We may end up loving that card. Just gonna say it's hard to tell at first glimpse without seeing all the cards.
Yeah.
So here's another Brobnar action called First Blood. It gives you 1 amber for playing it.
It's an alpha, right?
It's an alpha. Yep, good memory. So alpha introduces a new keyword. You can only play this card before doing anything else this turn.
Anything.
Now this is important because originally I was thinking we could reap or do like some combat or do something, but when I reread it again, it's before you do anything else.
Anything.
Not just before playing cards. So anyway, you play and you deal 2 damage for each friendly Brobnar creature, and you may divide this damage among any number of creatures. Anything you want to say about that one?
I feel like that's pretty powerful. Do they have to be ready Brobnar creatures? No. You just have to be on the board.
So you would need to have played them a turn or 2 before.
Yeah.
And they need to have survived.
I feel like that could be good. Like 2 damage for each Brobnar creature that's actually on the board.
So you have 2.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to do 4 damage.
4 damage.
You gain an amber in your turn. And you have to start with this card.
I feel like that's good enough. You gain an amber, you deal some amount of damage.
And worst case scenario, you deal no damage.
And just gain an amber.
And you gain an amber.
I feel like that's still okay, gain amber.
Yeah, so the floor of this card, the worst case scenario is alright, you get an amber for it. Mm-hmm. The best case scenario is you have a bunch of creatures and
you deal a lot of damage.
You can blow up the board. It's really interesting the way they balance like alpha and the next keyword we talk about, because they can put pretty powerful cards out, and they sort of have has the same feeling as that Mars card where you deal damage based on the number of ready Mars card.
Yeah.
And you just have to figure out a way to ready your creatures on that turn, or you have to have played them before. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. All right, let's do our vote. 1, 2, 3. All right, so Adam is a thumbs up on that. Do you like the alpha keyword?
I do.
I do too. I like changing the way we have to order our hands and thinking about that.
The reason I went thumbs up because I feel like worst case scenario, like Dad said, you just gain an amber. I feel like that's still pretty good though. Like, I don't mind getting an amber.
Yeah, and if you call Brobnar that turn, you get your amber. You just have to make sure you play that first before doing anything else, and you can't forget that. The reason I was neutral, so I went neutral on that, is I just don't know yet what that's going to feel. I do agree that getting an amber is good. I just don't know if it's good enough.
Good enough. Okay.
And I don't know. And this is going to be one of those cards, too. Like, if you get a Brobnar deck with, like, 2 creatures, it's going to just always feel like a dead card in your hand for damage. And so I think it's a little bit limited. I'm optimistic about this card, but I'm also, like, not overly excited or don't think it's overly powerful. Because I think the alpha card keeps it in check.
Yeah.
If it didn't have alpha, and I could lay out all my cards and do some damage, that'd be overpowered. So I see why they did it that way. All right. Next card is an 8-power Brobnar creature named Groggins. So he really is he's a giant, and when Groggins is used to fight, it can only attack flank creatures. So an 8-power creature with a little bit of a drawback in that it can only attack flank creatures. If you think about a lot of the other big creatures, a lot of them come in stunned, or a lot of them have, like, downsides to them. Like, they don't fight back. Like, they don't do damage back. And this guy doesn't have that. You can only fight flank creatures. So it means that you as an opponent need to play a little bit differently against him, because you're going to want to put things on the flank. I would love to see how this interacts with taunt, because if you have a creature taunted in the middle of your line, or, like, let's say you got 3 creatures, right?
Yeah.
And your opponent has Groggins. Taunt protects your 2 flank creatures. But I'm pretty sure the way that this would work is this would override the taunt, because the can overrides the can't. So, like, if you can only attack flank creatures, but the taunt makes it where you can't, I'm fairly certain that the can overriding the can't would make that work. So there might be implications to that. I mean, I could definitely be wrong on that, so we'd want to verify that, but that's my initial thought. What do you think?
Well, if it can actually, like, ignore taunt, that would be pretty cool. Otherwise, I don't think it's too overly powerful.
Yeah.
Because
no playability.
Yeah.
I mean, it stays around a while. It can beat on your opponent a bit.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Let's do our vote. 1, 2, 3. Oh, we're both neutral on that one. Yeah, I'm a big fan of cards that change the battlefield a little bit when you play them. Like, I love play effects or pumps and bonuses. I will definitely be excited to play this card, Groggins, but at the same time, it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, the next one, Lollop the Titanic, is an 11-power creature from Brobnar. Now we're talking about a crazy size card. This is a giant location, which I find really interesting. I wonder if location's going to matter in this.
Yeah.
When he is attacked himself, so when Lollop the Titanic deals no damage when attacked.
Interesting.
So he can fight out and do damage
to any creature.
But when someone attacks him, he just sits there like a... So, I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, he can attack any creature, but he just can't deal damage when he's attacked.
Yeah.
And he can reap, correct? Like,
he can reap and do all the normal stuff.
Okay.
So he does stick around a while. 11 power is a lot to destroy.
Yes.
I mean, if you're playing against another deck with, like, big creatures, it would take 2, maybe 3 attacks straight into him for him to die. Which is a lot of, like, resources on your opponent's turn for 1 card. All right. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say? I'd say the art is awesome. It's like a big giant with, like,
a bunch of people.
With people on his shoulder and a tree, and it's really cool, actually. All right, let's just do the vote on this one. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, so Adam is neutral, and I'm thumbs down on that one. I'm probably more neutral than thumbs down, to be fair.
Okay.
But again, I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of 11-power creature, and I love playing it, and but I'm not a fan of a card that doesn't really change anything in the battlefield. And this one really doesn't. You're going to be a little bit scared because you're like, oh, now I'm going to have an 11-power creature attacking me.
Yeah.
But if I'm playing against this guy, I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm just going to start running some guys into him and see what I can do. I don't know, why were you neutral on him?
Well, I felt like he could still do a lot of damage on the board if you're trying to control it.
Oh, yeah. What if you readied and fought with him right away? That'd be some fun stuff.
Yeah.
So that could be why, you're a little more positive about him than me.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on that one?
Well, no, nothing else.
Okay.
No.
So let's jump over to the next Brobnar creature, which is a 6-power Culf, C-U-L-F, the Quiet. He is a giant creature. He is elusive. So if you guys don't remember what elusive is, basically the first time this creature is attacked, that no damage happens. Usually an ability that Shadow has.
Yeah, and the Bromnar creature has it. That's pretty surprising.
What do you think about a 6-power creature having elusive?
I don't know how I feel about that, because usually I'm used to them being really weak with actual abilities. I feel like it would be good. I don't really know what to say about it.
It's really interesting because it's hard to judge this card.
Yeah.
So, on one hand, I love elusive when I play Shadow. Like, I feel like that creature is just going to take so much for my opponent to kill.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I find it weird that it's on Brobnar. But
it is, yes.
Anyway, I think I'm ready to vote. Are you?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. We're both thumbs up on that card, and I'll let you go first. Why were you thumbs up?
Well, it's pretty cool how a 6-power creature is actually elusive, so then it'll take more to kill him, you know? But it is also pretty interesting why they actually did that. Yeah,
and for me, it's like, I'm thumbs up, and that's more about me being excited to try it, because I want to see what elusive feels like on a 6-power creature. Because I feel like it's going to be like, oh, I'm going to attack into your 5-power guy. I'll have 1 life left, but you got to attack me twice. You got to use 2 of your creatures to finish him off. Yeah. Or I'm just going to reap with that guy. Maybe I'll heal him somehow.
Yeah.
I just think there's some cool things that you can do with that. He might be terrible. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking he's actually going to be pretty good, though, honestly. All right, next one. This is an artifact. Again, Brobnar, 1 amber for playing it. It's called Grump Buggy. It's a vehicle. Your opponent's keys cost 1 more amber, so +1 amber, for each friendly creature with power 5 or higher.
Wow.
And your keys cost +1 amber for each enemy creature with power 5 or higher.
Huh. For me, it depends, since we know you have to have Bromnar to play the card. So that could be pretty good, because then that means you already have high creatures. Pretty controlling. But then the opponent, they could have like a high creatures in like a controlling deck to wipe the board from you and then put a bunch of creatures out, and then you can't,
are big, and then you
can't forge a key.
This is uncommon, by the way, so it won't be in like every deck. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I'm ready to vote, and then I'll talk about why. You ready to vote?
Okay.
This is a tough one. All right, 1. On a second here. 1, 2, 3. Wow, we're both thumbs down on this card.
I didn't expect you to be that.
So I'm thumbs down because it's a liability in my mind.
Yeah, like if you lose creatures and they have creatures, then you can't get anything from it, really.
It's great against a deck that has no 5-power creatures,
yeah.
But it could be awful against a deck that does. Mm-hmm. And I think what's going to end up happening is 50% of the time you should discard this card and not play it.
Yeah, I understand that.
And it doesn't help against shadows, which is cards that I'm really looking for. I'm looking for ways that we can combat shadows. And shadows doesn't have a lot of bigger than 5-power creatures. They have some.
I feel like that could stop them, though.
They have some. I guess what I mean by that is, like, if say, like, in my best case scenario, I have 3 creatures out, so their cards cost +3 more.
Okay.
+3. They might have 1 5-power creature. If they're paired up with something else, they might have 2. So I'm going to be, even if it's +1 amber, I'm now looking for 7 amber.
Yeah.
And that puts me in a situation where I'm going to be constantly trying to gain more amber, which opens up more resources for them to gain.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And typically, Shadow has really good ways to like
mess with you,
get rid of your creatures if they want to.
Oh,
and like,
yeah.
I mean, they can just start ticking away with their little skirmish abilities and things, and start picking apart your board a little bit. Deal 2 damage across the board and stuff like that. So I guess maybe I worded that the wrong way. If it's against a Shadows deck that literally has 0 or like just a bare minimum 5 power or higher creatures, I think I would probably play Grump Buggy. But once you play it, you're stuck with that liability, and what you're going to be changing the game where you're constantly targeting their big creatures in their other houses and ignoring their shadow creatures. And I think against Shadow, your focus wants to be on the little creature. I could be way wrong. This card might be amazing against them, but that's just why I was thumbs down. Any reason you were thumbs down?
Well, I think it's part of the reason why you said, because I feel like it has, you have to be playing against a pretty weak deck to actually be like using it on your side, not against you, you know?
Completely agree. It's a liability. And I think you just have to discard the card sometimes. And I've learned that in this game. There's cards that you just need to get, like, I need this out of my hand. Alright, next card. 4 power, Brobnar creature, another giant. So lots of giants in this.
Yeah.
This is called Grumpus Tamer. And when you reap with him, you search your deck and discard pile for a War Grumpus. Reveal it and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Now you have to reap with him. And this is a rare, so this is a card that you won't see a whole lot.
So War Grumpus is the guy that lets you play it, and you can ready and fight with another giant creature.
So War Grumpus, yes, actually War Grumpus is, we'll talk about him right away.
Okay.
Maybe we'll talk about them as a combo here.
Okay.
It's a 3 power beast creature in Brobnar. When you fight or reap, you can ready and fight with a neighboring giant.
Neighboring giant, okay.
So with War Grumpus, it's pretty neat because you have to position him by a giant. And the giant needs to stay alive, so you as an opponent can pick apart. But with the Grumpus Tamer, which I think I love that name, Grumpus Tamer, you're going to go search for him, and you search your discard pile or your deck, and you're just going to put him in place. So he's going to be by a giant.
Yes.
So what's going to end up happening is if you can get Grumpus Tamer, and I'm assuming War Grumpus is just going to come along with Grumpus Tamer. All right, you want ready to do it? We're gonna say, all right, 1, 2, 3. All right, so Adam is thumbs down on that, and I'm neutral on this one. So why are you thumbs down?
Because you have to actually fight and reap with it. I'm just guessing the opponent's just already going to kill those creatures once they see them out, you know?
That's a really good point, actually.
You have to wait a whole turn before you can reap with the Grumpus Tamer. And I'm guessing once the opponent knows the ability that it has, they're probably just going to try to murder him right away before he gets another creature out on the board.
And you're not getting like the most powerful creature in the world, right?
Yeah.
It's only a 3 power creature. But his fight and reap ability is pretty nice. I love that it's fight and reap, which I think. So I was neutral. So I'm not down, but I'm neutral on it because I think it depends on how. I mean, are we going to get like 2 War Grumpuses with the Grumpus Tamer?
That would be good.
That would be cool.
Cool, yes.
But I think you're right. It's going to become a target. It doesn't do anything when you play it. 4 power isn't necessarily that strong for Brobnar creature.
Yeah.
If you can get a reap off, you get a 3 power creature pretty much for free.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's probably going to be fun to play with. I don't think it's going to be overly powerful. I'm interested to try it, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump over to Dis now. The first card is Banish, which is basically an action that gives you 1 amber, which I love that it does that. And it's put an enemy creature into your opponent's archives.
Oh, that's cool. It's an action card. You play it, you put an enemy creature in the opponent's archive. That's pretty cool.
It is kind of neat.
Yeah.
Especially if you know that they're saving like Logos cards in there. You know what I mean? Because Logos is the archiving house, or Mars, and you know that a lot of times based on what they're playing on the board. At least that's my theory anyway.
That is pretty cool though. Especially if there's a strong creature on the board, you banish it, you know?
Yep.
And then force them to like take all their cards in and then play it, you know?
In the worst case scenario,
they have nothing in their archive.
And they just have they have 1 card in there, they get it back next turn, they play it again.
Yeah.
And so that means you've gotten an amber, you've also slowed them down basically 2 turns. Because they have to play it, it's not ready again. Alright, I'm ready. Are you ready? Alright, 1, 2, 3. So Adam is neutral and I'm thumbs up on this card. I love cards that allow me to
mess with the board.
Change the board a little bit.
Okay.
And there are cards in particular, like when I'm going into fight, or I'm going in to do something, or maybe there's like somebody that's captured my amber. I love the idea of getting an amber for playing this card, and then just removing someone from the battle line for a couple turns. It's probably not as powerful as I'm thinking it's going to be, but I think it's going to actually save me a lot of times in this game. Why were you neutral?
Well,
and I think I know why you would be neutral, but...
Why do you think I'd be neutral?
Because you probably just see it as like a utility card. It like doesn't...
Yeah. Like, I feel like it's not overly powerful, but I feel like it's good, but then I also feel like it could be also bad at some points.
And then you end up like...
Just going middle.
Because, if they have a powerful creature, there's definitely conditions, right? If they have a powerful creature, and that creature has a powerful play ability, or like play Steal 3 Amber. Like there is a card like that.
Yeah.
But you return that to their hand, or return that to their archive, it buys you turns and it forces them to play that house again. And I think there's things that you could do and strategically choose the right thing to do that. Maybe.
Okay.
I might be overrating that card a little bit.
And I could also be wrong too.
And you're probably more right that it's just a utility card that doesn't really do enough. So here's another card that's going to be really interesting. But again, we're rating this on excitement and strength and power, so it's kind of show off. We might be really excited about a card, but it might not be super strong. Yeah. So for me, I'm super excited to play that card. So this one is a dis action called Binding Irons. You play, your opponent gets 3 chains.
I like that card. I feel like it'd be fun to play. And then you make your opponent lose cards too for 3 turns.
It's basically like tell your opponent to draw 3 less cards.
Yeah.
Over 3 turns. It's really interesting. All right, let's vote on this one right away. 1, 2, 3. So we're both thumbs up. I'm excited about playing with giving people chains.
Yeah.
That's my only thing. How strong is this? I have no idea. I think it's going to be strong. I think it's going to be strong. Because think about when you play against like Succubus or the card that like makes you draw less cards. It becomes an immediate target.
It does.
And there is no getting rid of these chains except through real... unless there is a way. There might be a way. But we haven't seen that yet. Yeah. So anyway, I'm just excited to try that card. I'm excited to be like, all right, have 3 chains. 3 chains for you. All right, the next card is a 2-power creature in this. His name is Streak. He's an elusive creature.
Elusive.
And while Streak is not on a flank, your opponent refills their hand to 1 less card during their draw step.
That makes it interesting.
And in combination with the last card that we just talked about, Binding Irons. So you could 3 chains and take 1 less card as well. And I'm elusive, so you're going to have a hard time killing me. Yeah. And here's another thing too: is elusive is on this creature, which I'm trying to remember. I've never seen.
I've seen one.
Is there one already?
Well, it makes you can't play a house, and it's like 1 power.
Oh, okay. I have played against that card. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you ready to vote on this one?
Okay, yeah.
1, 2, 3. We're both thumbs up on this card. I love having a creature that opponent has to answer.
Yeah.
That's just simple. And I love that it's elusive. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else to add to that?
I like how it messes with the board, too, and the opponent.
Yeah. So here is another action in Disc called Unlocked Gateway.
Unlocked Gateway,
When you play it, you destroy each creature.
Each creature?
Every creature. And it has the Omega keyword, which we've already talked about the Alpha. But Omega is after you play this card in this step. So basically you can do no more like reaping, no more combat, no more playing cards. So you end your turn with just an empty board of everything.
Wow. I feel like it could end up being pretty good because you have to play it last though, so that it can get ready for it. Like at least it's not alpha where you play it first, you know?
Yep.
Before you could reap or do something with your creatures, you know? I feel like it could be pretty good.
I'm ready to vote, and then I think I'll talk about... All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, so Adam is thumbs up. I'm neutral on it.
Okay.
And I'm neutral, and I'm actually maybe even a little negative on this guy.
Negative, okay.
Because coming from the background of Magic the Gathering, the key to like blowing up the board is to always have a follow-up to that.
A follow-up, yes.
So even gaining the 3 chains, in my opinion, in the version that exists today, you can play a ton of stuff afterwards. You can blow up the board and then load the board up with stuff.
Yeah.
So you start off on the... This one, you can't do that. Your opponent gets to play first. You blow up the board.
Oh, you make a good point.
Turn passes. Your opponent gets to dump creatures on there. Now you're playing behind. That's at least my perspective on it. I think there are going to be times where you have this in your hand and you're like, well, I have to blow up the board, and I guess I have to end like my turn right away. But if my opponent has an awesome start next turn, I'm probably done. You know that. But getting the 3 chains with the one that exists now is like, I'm gonna blow up the board and I'm gonna play 3 disc creatures and I'm gonna pass the turn. Much better, like much better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, what made you thumbs up on it?
Well, I feel like it could be pretty good because I like how you can like repunch with your creatures before actually blowing up the board. But I didn't think about how it's your last thing and you can't play a bunch of creatures afterwards. Yeah.
Does that change your opinion a little bit?
I think it does, yeah.
Would you be more neutral now?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that one's going to be interesting. I think you're going to have it in your hand lots of times and you're like, Omega just seems like a really big, like, negative sometimes. Mm-hmm. So the next card is Yerk.
Yerk.
4-power disc creature, demon, and you play it, choose and discard a card from your hand. Want to just go right to voting?
Yeah.
All right, 1, 2, 3. So Adam's neutral, and I'm thumbs up on this card. I'm thumbs up because I love ways to empty my hand when I need to draw more cards from other houses.
Yeah, that's why I'm neutral, because it like if you have one card of one like house, you can just discard it and then get more cards of other houses. Yep. But it could also be a bad thing because it doesn't say you may. You have to actually discard a card if you play it. So, so you could discard if you play it.
That's a good point.
Then you have to play.
You have to discard at that point. There might be a situation where you don't want to. Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. He's also looks like a giant crab demon thing.
He does.
But it's hard to tell for sure. Awesome artwork, though. I love that artwork. So here's the thing, Adam. We got through Dis and Brodnar now. We have 5 more houses to get through.
5 more houses,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I don't think we're going to get through all of them now. So let's stop the video here.
Okay.
And we're going to come back, and the next house we'll start with is logos. But this will be part 1, probably part 1 of maybe 2 or 3, depending on how quickly our other ones go.
Yeah.
Of the new cards that are announced in Age of Ascension, which there are 42 of them, with one of them being a card that's confirmed in this. So one of them's not technically new, so it's really 41 that I know of, and I'm sure we're gonna be getting new ones as we go out.
Okay.
So let us know what you think. Like, would you agree or disagree with any of the cards that we talked about? And be on the lookout for our next video with logos and probably Mars. I think we're gonna do logos to Mars next time.
I would like to do Sanctum though.
Sanctum, they only revealed 1 card for Sanctum.
1 card for Sanctum?
Yeah.
I think you and me were looking at different websites.
So maybe you found more than me, but I only found 1.
Like, I believe a card had like ability to go in between like units.
Yep, there does. That's this one. The deploy is the other keyword.
Oh yeah. That's cool.
They only revealed that 1 that I found so far.
There's also a shadow one, I believe.
And shout out to KeyForge Compendium, because they got a search filter up now where you can list all the cards and you can pick Age of Ascension and just start cruising along and like see all the new cards. It's been a lifesaver for us to track that down.
It is, yeah.
So he might have found another site, but KeyForge Compendium is what I'm using. Anyway, until next time,
keep gaming.
Keep gaming. Probably until tomorrow, actually. We're going to try to put another one. All right, bye, guys. Yeah, it's going to take a long time to get through all that.
Yes.
That's why I had to...
We should just make an hour-long audio video about all of them, you know?
Well, I think we'll do, like, this is part 1, and then we'll... Because we probably are at, like, almost an hour now.